Welcome back. Yes, indeed. That's where we turn our attention to now. But how do we ensure that we stop violence in our elections? Well, as you also have, in case you saw the program yesterday, and perhaps the day before, where arguments went back and forth between those political parties or those who were also involved in the process, how they said some accounts of persons who died, others say no persons died. In fact, the police said no person in uniform died, and any death were not related with the elections. Well, to give us his account of what transpired, our political correspondent, Seun Okinbaloye, joins us next here today. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you so much.
And what the scenario was there in Bayelsa, I mean, watching, we could see the arguments between those parties, even right up to where they were collating the results. So you can imagine how tense it was in the field. What did you see on the day?
All right. What I think was a common occurrence in almost all polling units that you find is that, I mean, at some point when Sulaiman was asking me questions on the news, you discover that there is a tendency in an average Bayelsan. They're fearless, they're resilient, and you can see that happening, especially when you have an exercise that is happening for the third time. Don't forget that the election was on the 5th. It was they held the second one on the 6th, and it went into Monday the last time, and before this eventual one. So you find that people are somewhat impatient with any lapses that they are saying or they are foreseen. So there is a sort of argument that erupts at each time, almost at every polling unit that you get to. That's an initial situation that you find in an average polling unit that you get to. At some point, there's always disagreement between the major political parties, their agents and their supporters on the field. So you find these arguments happening, and it got to a point in time that we were not so much taken aback with that kind of behavior any longer, because we know that after 5-10 minutes, they will settle and they will get back to the queue. But you find that kind of altercations coming over and over again when people will almost want to beat themselves up, and afterward the police will say, okay guys, it's okay. You know, you even find armed officers just a few meters away, but yet in this, I mean, in some of the crimes in Nigeria that one is familiar with, when you see armed officer close by, you keep calm. Exactly, but not Bayelsa. An average Bayelsa, I mean, like, I mean, if you meet them in the hotel lobby, they are so fearless, the boldness, the way they approach you, you see a sense of a different, I mean, species of Nigerian, that, if I may use that word. And so that actually also played out at a polling unit, and at some point they will not allow you to manipulate the exercise. So that played out largely.
You know, at a point, the news was awash with the information that certain persons in uniform had died. I think they said police and army. Now, we know that the situation at that time tense, people running from pillar to post to see how they get themselves elected or vote, even newsmen in terms of how they report. So that information dissemination process, one may have imagined, might have been topsy-turvy, but what was the thinking of journalists? How did that information filter that security officials had died in the process?
I think this is perhaps, in so many years of covering politics, this is perhaps one of the toughest case to handle, in the sense that rumors are essential part of some community in Bayelsa State. And as
we have a special law.
Exactly, you shouldn't be afraid to say it, because they have a law in that state.
Yeah, I mean, in fact, I understand.
Rumor mongering.
Yeah, I mean, I even understand that at some point there was an advisor on rumor mongering. And so, I mean, in fact, there was a joke that a cathedral fell. There was a rumor that a cathedral fell, and they were looking for the cathedral. The address of the person that raised the alarm, they went ahead to find out where the cathedral was. They find out that it was a worship center where less than 10 people could actually worship. I mean, after rain, the shed, I mean, it's best described as a shed. And so, if you describe such a place as a cathedral, you can imagine that kind of...
he said places of worship are cathedrals.
And even the only person that I understand that was there only had a wood hit him in the head, and he by himself he used bandage too. So, you know, that kind of environment, you're very careful. When I heard at first that 4 policemen have been killed, and the first thing I did was to call the police officers, I mean the police CP, the DIG, to confirm exactly what has happened. Have you lost any of your policemen? The man busted laughing and said, look, Seun, in fact, if any of our men are injured, I will be the first person to know. The PPRO, the CP, the DIG all confirmed that. Seun, we have not seen a body. And you know...
But Seun, you know what's interesting? I recall that while you were interviewing the governor, Saraki Dixon, he said, as you know, we lost quite a number of people. And you didn't say anything about that.
All right, because this is the issue. During the election in the first place, some guys in the PDP called me and said, Seun, 91 people have been killed. Few minutes afterwards, an APC guy called me and said, Seun, 114 people have been killed. I said, wait a minute, where are these people? These are human beings that you're talking about here. So, you know, the next thing you do is to confirm from the authorities if they are killed, which hospitals are they in mortuary or the morgue, where are their bodies deposited? If they are injured, where are they at the moment? So you want to find out. So as much as political parties or politicians are saying this, you still need to verify. And for Channels Television, anything that we go on air with is the truth. So before you can confirm those kind of truth, I'm a thoroughbred journalist. So before you give me anything, and I will eat it, I need to confirm how edible it is.
Well, rumors are so strong, they had to come up with a law about it. But Seun, I mean, we'll hear all sorts of things on a regular basis, depending on where you are. But while you were out there, what do you hear, or what did you hear in terms of young people? Because you see a lot of energy, how they approach the elections. What makes them volunteer themselves or stand so strongly with whoever they're standing behind? Because in most cases, I mean, someone was here the other day, said, look, some of these people, after being elected, don't even know who were those boys who were standing for them. So where did they get the encouragement to keep going the way they go?
I mean, one basic thing is politics is basically local. The reasons why some political parties are not thriving at the moment is because they do not have the base of your party needs to be local. You need to strengthen your party to the locality, to the grassroots. And the reasons why people will volunteer and come out is because they can identify with one person in their community, because at every community you find maybe a strong man, someone who's educated, who's been away for a while, who is coming back, and who is gathering or who is putting people together to for a particular cause. So majorly you discover that you find, what I've noticed is that you find someone who is coordinating, who, as soon as it comes into the community, they meet in his house, it tells them the strategy to go. And this actually you will see on election day. Because at some point, when boys like he has said, when they finish voting or they finish the task they've been sent, because they move from their polling units to another polling unit to see what is happening there. They, in fact, you see them on the motorbikes to find out. They're going around to see what is happening within their community. So it's
so no movement could not be enforced.
For example, within the 5-kilometer radius, I mean, you still can move around, go to the next streets, go to the adjacent street to see what is happening there. You might find within 2-3 streets, you might find say about 15 or 20 polling units in there. So you can move from one street to the other, not on the major road. So you see people moving from perhaps less than a kilometer trying to see what is happening there. So the political parties, basically the strong ones, have a strong grassroots base, and that's how they've been able to control it. For example, like he has said, gathering political strength needs a lot of effort in the grassroots, and young people they can't do that. They're the ones who can do the job.
Well, we'll imagine the conversation will continue on politics today, this weekend.
Yeah, of course.
Wrap up of what transpired.
Of course. Yeah.
Well, thank you, Seun Okinbaloye, our political correspondent. Well, that's the show. That's the wrap for us as well here today on Sunrise Today. We thank you all for watching and for your comments as well. We will be back tomorrow. Until then, I'm Chamberlain Oso.
Well, thank you so much. I'm Maokwe Ogun.
Many thanks, Sulaiman Lede.